Do you think that thought leaders have all of the answers? That is a myth, a very common myth about thought leadership, and that is that in order to be a thought leader, you need to know everything. And in today's episode, we are going to bust that myth. If you like today's video, be sure to like it, smash that subscribe button so you don't miss future content. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. We personally respond to them and we love talking to you. So many people hesitate to start thought leadership or start creating content because they think they don't have enough information. They don't know all the answers. They're not a deep expert on a topic, so they can't write any content at all. But this is an absolute myth. And in today's video, I want to walk through ways you can reframe or rethink what the idea of thought leadership in the context of not having all of the answers. Because the truth is, and you probably already know this, nobody has all of the answers. And if not having all the answers or not knowing all the information is stopping you from moving forward, you are doing yourself a disservice as well as a potential community or an audience of people. So I'm going to break down 3 different ways for you to actually think about creating thought leadership content, even if you're not the go-to expert.
Trust me, I'm an expert.
So idea number 1 is that you only need to be one step ahead of your audience. Some of the best thought leaders out there, some of the best creators out there are actually people who are learning and creating in real time. They're out there, they're talking about what they're discovering, they're talking about their struggles, they're sharing that with their audience in a way that actually encourages their audience, who might be one step behind them, to kind of follow along as them being the leader. The author Amy Porterfield talks about this often in her books, saying you only need to be 10% more knowledgeable than your audience. And I think there's some truth to that. As long as you have a little bit more information than your audience, as long as you're out there doing the work involved of actually getting the information, that's all you need to start creating content. The goal here is not perfection, it's just sharing what you learn and letting your audience benefit from that too. I like to kind of think of this as like a teacher-student analogy. And the famous philosopher Seneca said, while we teach, we learn. And there's a lot of truth to that. Because as you go through the process of teaching other people about the things you know, it actually helps you learn better. Or said a different way, that's how mastery is made, is by actually teaching other people.
I teach because to teach is to learn.
Tip number 2 is actually to share your opinions and not just facts. And I think this is something that people get really wrapped up in because when they think about business content, they're thinking, I have to give objective, perfect information. But in reality, some of the best thought leaders are more just sharing their opinions on topics. Because ultimately, the reason you follow someone, the reason you consume content is for insights. And insights can often come from more subjective things as people interpret information or people interpret things that happen in their business and share it out in the wild. So when you think about your industry and your knowledge base, think about how you think of frameworks, how you conceptualize things, the processes that you take things. Again, these are just your opinions and your ways of doing things. But if you share that out to your audience, that is a way to build that thought leadership practice. It's totally okay to say, here's how I see it, instead of saying, here's the final word on the topic.
A lot about a lot.
And then tip number 3 is to foster discussions and actually bring other people's content into the mix. Not everything in the world of thought leadership has to be your individual content that you originally came up with. It's actually a very beneficial thing for your audience for you to curate other people's information, interpret it, and share it back to them. This can be as direct as you actually interviewing people and then having that discussion be live as something like a podcast or a YouTube video, or it could be as simple as you reading a blog post, listening to somebody else's podcast, reading a social media post, whatever it might be, and then sharing that back to your audience with your opinion on it. And then, of course, you can invite your audience to come in, share their thoughts on it, their perspectives, and then foster that whole discussion amongst that community. And the added benefit amongst this is that you actually get more reach by bringing discussion into the mix because it brings more engagement and the algorithms like that. So hopefully you can see now that you don't need to be the go-to expert in your field. You don't need to know everything to be a thought leader. And actually, the people that don't claim that are actually the ones that are more vulnerable, fun word people say nowadays, but more authentic actually is probably the better way of saying that. And that'll actually help you connect better with your audience and make you a better thought leader. This curiosity or this showing that you're near the same process as your audience actually makes you more relatable and will do better for you in the long run. So next time you're thinking about your thought leadership strategy or your content plan, I want you to remember you don't need to be the go-to expert. You just need to be relatable and helping your audience learn, even if that learning is right alongside you. So don't be afraid. Don't have that imposter syndrome. Create the content, press the post button, and start building your audience.